First of all, I have to say that we are very happy to be here, and we are very grateful to Université Catholique de Louvain and to the European Economic and Social Committee for hosting and organizing this workshop on EU-China relations in the field of taxation. I will do two main things in my introduction. First, I will introduce you the Jean Monnet Network so that you can know more what we are working on and which is the goal of all the activities that we will be organizing during the next 2 years. And secondly, I will make some comments on the current moment of EU-China relationships to introduce or to set the scene. Regarding the network, it's an academic network joining not only universities but also think tanks in China and in the EU. It's funded by the European Union, the European Commission, and it joins CEU San Pablo University in Madrid, particularly the Institute for European Studies of the university, Université Catholique de Louvain, and University College London. And we have also an informal partner, which is the EUI in Florence, the European University Institute in Florence, which adds also 5 researchers to the network. And in China, we have the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences, a main think tank and academic institution within China, and Fudan University in Shanghai, so Beijing and Shanghai. The idea of the network is to debate, to exchange views, and to try to find ways of a better cooperation between China and the EU in what we could call European economic governance in general. And we have 2 main blocks of issues in which we have divided our activities. The first one is climate change and energy. And the second block relates to trade, competition, and market regulation. Environmental taxation touches both blocks because we have environmental taxation which fits into what is climate change and energy, and of course it touches as well other more general aspects of economic regulation that we will be dealing today. Our idea is to try to see how EU-China can cooperate in global governance issues, in global economic governance issues. And we have 4 types of activities. The first one is international conferences. We will be having the first international conference in Shanghai in May 2020. And this will be devoted to trade, competition and market regulation. And we will be having a second international conference in Madrid in July 2020, devoted to climate change and energy. In both, we will be dealing with taxation as well. We have 4 second type of activities, workshops, like the one we are having today. It's a one-day workshop on a specific topic. The first one, we had it last week in London, hosted by the Institute of Global Governance, and it was devoted to general economic global governance and the role of EU-China relationships within that economic global governance. So we saw China's perspective, the European governance perspective, and we tried to enter into already specific topics to see which are the inputs of both parties into that global governance, such as an overview of the contributions to climate change, economic regulation, including competition, including trade, including as well financial regulation. Of course, we take into account as well the role of the US as a third main global actor, although we try to focus mainly on the EU-China possible cooperation, particularly in the current scenario with a non-very cooperative US in certain aspects of global governance. The third type of activity is summer universities. Summer university who will last for 2 weeks, and we will have one in Beijing this summer, last week of June and the first week of July, hosted by CAS, by the Chinese Academy of Social Sciences. And that summer university will tackle issues related to trade, competition and market regulation. And the second summer university will be hosted by the European University Institute in the summer of 2020, second fortnight of July, and it will be tackling issues related to climate change and energy. This is a different type of activity because in a way what we will try to do is to disseminate knowledge and to train people on these issues. So it's beyond what is merely an academic debate. We will try to enroll some young people, civil servants, young researchers, and in the format of a training course during 2 weeks, try to disseminate the current knowledge on these issues. Hopefully we can join a group of Europeans and Chinese for both events. And finally, we have publications, working papers that will be put on the web of our institute and disseminated through the whole network, and a final book of the project. So this is basically the events. The network ends with a presentation of the results in a public awareness meeting in Beijing and a public awareness meeting in Brussels in September 2020. So you are all, of course, invited to come and to know the final results of the cooperation. I'm, of course, at your disposal if you have any questions regarding the network or how to cooperate within it. And the second issue I want to address in this introductory speech is the current situation of the EU-China relationships. Couldn't be a better moment for the seminar. March is being very important. March 2019 is a very important month in the current relations EU-China, and particularly because of the joint communication of the European Commission of last 12 March on these EU-China relationships. It's called a strategic outlook, and I will prefer to call it a change or a shift of a strategic outlook, a strategic position of the European Commission regarding China. Let me just put some of the issues that are tackled in the joint communication and that have, in a way, not shocked me, but which I think they are very revealing of the change of approach of the EU regarding China. Of course, China is still a key strategic partner for the European Union. And the European Commission confirms that it wants to maintain an enduring relationship. But since the very first moment, the communication talks of a shift. There is a shift in the balance of challenges and opportunities in the EU-China relationship due to, of course, a change of circumstances. China has grown with unprecedented scale and speed in the later decades, particularly since the entry into the WTO in 2001. And China could not be seen anymore as a developing country, but as a key global actor and a leading technological power. So the EU then is asking China to assume greater responsibilities in a lot of fields, in particular regarding the rules-based international order, regarding reciprocity, access to the market, international trade, in also development of the economic global order, non-discrimination, so a level playing field in China as well, and openness of the system and of the market. The EU says that China is, in some fields, is a cooperation partner, in others is a negotiation partner, it is a competitor as well, and what it's revealing as well is, in certain fields, is a systemic rival proposing an alternative model of governance. And in a way, therefore, is a risk to some of the values and of the challenges and ideas of the European Union. Another point that I would like to tackle regarding the joint communication is the insistence of the Union on unity of the member states. I think this is extremely important. There is a claim for maintaining unity in the relationships with China. It's a call for member states to therefore not deviate, not do unilateral actions regarding the relationships with China. And of course we've seen some movements of a group of countries like the 16+1 with countries which belong to the Union and countries which do not belong to the Union who are cooperating with China for the New Silk Road, for the Belt and Road Initiative, and we've seen Italy in the last week as well signing a memorandum of understanding for cooperation in issues related to the Belt and Road Initiative. And I think this is seen as a concern for the European Union. So the joint communication calls for that full unity regarding EU-China relations. There is an insistence on level playing field and reciprocity and non-discrimination in economic issues, as well as intention of putting as well security, environmental and social standards in perspective into the negotiations of economic issues, with also a clear strategy towards developing an industrial policy and in strategic sectors in Europe. So a lot of important messages. If I have to summarize in a way the main message of the communication, I remember some declarations of Juncker and of the Commissioner for External Relations as well, and also for Trade, saying that the Union will no more be naive regarding China. I think the Union has realized that China has clearly benefited much more than others from globalization, that there is no level playing field, that we probably were expecting more development and quicker development in certain issues from China, and therefore the Union is saying we will have to put more pressure on China for the reforms, and many of what we will be doing depends very much on the reaction of China, of course. Some mechanisms are being put in place, such the new screening mechanism for investments, a European mechanism for investments, but it depends very much on the reaction of China whether the Union, I think, how the Union will be implementing all this strategy. So there is also a call for China to really try to implement reforms, to make more progress, and of course to keep cooperating to find a common way. No naivety, but of course open doors for cooperation and for opportunities. This is my interpretation of the joint communication, but I think probably many other people will have a different view on this, and we will be, of course, very happy to know about these different perspectives.